So that's it, the last solar eclipse to be seen on this continent in this century. And as I said, not until August 21st, 2017, will another eclipse be visible from North America. That's 38 years from now. May the shadow of the moon fall on a world at peace. And ABC News, of course, will bring you a complete report on that next eclipse, 38 years from now.
I've made the judgment call. It's Wednesday, about 1 in the morning. I'm gonna drive up to Oregon tomorrow to see the eclipse. That's right. I went up to Oregon to see the total eclipse. It was a very last minute decision, which proved to be a little difficult with figuring out a way how I was going to see the total eclipse. So let's rewind a little bit. So obviously August, total eclipse was coming up. I wasn't really paying too much attention to it until kind of the hype of the media and everyone talking about it started coming up. In the Bay Area, we had about 80% coverage, I want to say. So something that sounded pretty high, and I assumed, hey, it's 80%, this will look pretty cool anyway, I'll just watch it from, from the roof where I work. However, I happened to see this video, and I believe the name of this was, "You Owe It to Yourself to See the Total Eclipse at least once in your lifetime."
Before you die, he said, you owe it to yourself to experience a total solar eclipse.
So that's a pretty powerful message that someone says, and like I watched it kind of expecting not to be convinced this is all, I have to go see this, but he made a compelling argument, and that was really the final decision that made me say, okay, I'm going to go see this total eclipse. So the next step was planning how I was going to make this happen. So the closest area of the path of totality, so basically I believe it's about 150-mile length of land, that would be within the total eclipse cone. The closest area was in Coriolis, Oregon. And so I looked it up and I figured, okay, maybe I could fly up and just kind of make that stay. Wrong. Again, 2 weeks. So looking at flights were all booked up or super expensive, just wasn't gonna work. I started looking at hotels I can potentially stay at if I decided to drive. No hotels I could find. As luck would have it, someone must have saw this gold mine coming up, and I saw a random Airbnb get populated literally 3 days before the actual time period that I was planning on going up. That was enough for me to say, let's do this. I set up everything, got the Airbnb. I actually drove up Thursday up into Eugene, Oregon. So that's about 30 minutes south from where the area of totality was.
Turn right onto California 96 East, signs for Portland, I-5 North.
I figured Eugene, because it's a college town, there's stuff to do, I can check things out. And let me tell you, Eugene was pretty great. They have great food, they have great breweries. I fully recommend Eugene. I had some voodoo donuts, a little overrated, but it was still a great time and a lot of fun. So my whole thing was I was gonna stay there Saturday, maybe kind of explore a little bit. I was able to do a little hiking. I took my drone out and was able to get a great shot over the Duck Stadium. And that was all awesome and cool, but really the main reason I was making this trip was for the eclipse. So the whole idea was I was checking out early on Monday, the actual day of the eclipse. And I was getting an early start because I was afraid there'll be a lot of traffic, a lot of people driving up. It's 5:30 in the morning, driving 1 hour north. I'm in Oregon right now to see this total solar eclipse. There was zero traffic. beautiful. No traffic right now, which is kind of crazy. I thought the traffic was gonna be crazy. So I got up there in like 25 minutes. And I got to this campground that I happened to look up beforehand. I thought that might be crowded. Was able to find parking, no problem. Good morning. So I'm in Oregon for this solar eclipse. Pulled up to Corvallis actually, which is just north of Eugene, just south of Salem. There was a lot less traffic than I thought there'd be. In fact, there's zero. But I'm at this campground now. I'm gonna see if I can find a spot to set up, but happy to be here. I said, oh, maybe the campground itself is crowded. It was a little crowded, but it was like suburban crowded. It wasn't city crowded. So that was enough for me. I was able to find a great spot, set up the tripod, this actual camera you're looking at. I used the camera itself to take pictures of the whole process of the eclipse. So I had a solar filter over the lens, able to take a bunch of pictures. Along with that, I also had my drone, and then I had a GoPro as well. So once I got there, I set up everything, and it was then like a waiting game. The waiting game was fine. I had a ton of conversations with a lot of fun and interesting people. And so basically, as we started approaching it, you started seeing, obviously with the solar glasses, the sun being overtaken by the moon. This is something I'm sure a lot of people in America saw, whether you're in San Francisco, whether you're in New York. You saw this part of it. But the interesting part is you could take it off, look around, and look the same. This is when it gets interesting. I want to say around a little above 80 is when I started, 80% of totality is when I started seeing the actual changes happening. So the first thing to notice is it started getting a little chilly. And this was a nice day out. It was about 75 degrees. And as I'm standing there, I just realized that like I had goosebumps standing up on my arm, and I saw other people grabbing jackets and sweatshirts. And that was kind of trippy because all of a sudden it was 75 degrees and it felt like it dropped 10 degrees in an instant. The next thing you start noticing is the light starts changing, and it's so hard to describe what this looked like. It almost looked like an Instagram filter where the light was just flat, so colors were a little muted. The shadows that we had, because most of that sun, and this probably started happening around 90%, most of the sun was covered, and so the shadows just weren't as nearly as elongated as they would be normally. So that was the next weird area, and then that's when you really started to feel the excitement building up. And like there's a ton of RVs, a ton of tents, and a ton of people that are kind of starting to pay attention. I've never seen a group of people explode for such a simple reason as the sun disappearing for 3 minutes. Wow. So right as the last sliver of sun closed out, cheers, applause, everyone was screaming. And I was taking pictures because that's really the main thing I kind of wanted to try to do when I was up there, take a bunch of pictures. I was able to do that, actually put my drone in the air. It caught the whole lighting change from start to end, and that was great as well. But then for the last minute, and this only lasted about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, last 30 seconds or a minute or so, I just sat and looked myself because I realized this is a really cool thing that I'm getting to see, and I shouldn't just live behind it through a lens. So after that, it was over. As soon as it began, it kind of ended. And there was applause at the ending as well, because it was almost like we were all happy this event happened, and we wanted to really show our appreciation. So that was it. As the moon moved past it, the sun started coming back out. It was almost like a reverse of what I described before. It was obviously very chilly when the sun was completely gone. It slowly started to get warmer. The sun started looking like the normal sun you would see, and my time in Oregon was done. So what did I take away from all of this? Just like that video suggested, if you owe it to yourself to see a total eclipse once in your lifetime. And I really say this with no hyperbole. It was a really cool experience. And the next one going through America is 2021. I believe that goes through Texas, kind of an upward arc towards New York. If you can do it, try to see it. And honestly, it was a great event and something that I would definitely do again, and well worth the 20-hour round trip drive. But yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys.